broadcasting live 4 days a week worldwide
from the sunny beaches of Southern California.
This is ExtremeHealthRadio.com.
Hi, this is the Health Ranger, Mike Adams from naturalnews.com, and I'm listening to Justin and Kate on Extreme Health Radio. Tune in every day for awesome shows that will empower you to change your life.
I have a little announcement for you.
Okay.
72 days until spring.
But who's counting?
72 days.
You just found that out 5 seconds
I just found it out.
But you're happy about it, aren't you?
Well, we're going to have a really fun show for you guys today. This is episode 356 of Extreme Health Radio. So if you want to catch any of the show notes or any of that, you can go to extremehealthradio.com/356. And we are broadcasting live, typically every Friday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific. This is a special show with Dr. Marita. We're very excited that she decided to come down and talk with us about women's health.
Right.
Some alarming trends going on in today's world right now with women's health. So we're very excited to have her in studio. So this is going to be a lot of fun. For reference, today is...
Am I going to have to help you out again? January 13th, 2015.
January 15th?
Not your strong point.
Not my strong point.
13th.
There you go. And we are very excited to have Dr. Marita on the show, and she's going to be talking about women's health issues, and that's going to be a lot of fun. Her website is drmarita.com, D-O-C-T-O-R, Dr. Marita, M-A-R-I-T-A.com, and she's a trusted naturopathic doctor, women's health expert, author, public speaker, and we found out about her from our local health food store. We saw a flyer that she's going to be coming into town doing some talks. So
it seems random, but nothing is random.
We thought, why not reach out to her if she's going to be in town? So we're so excited. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited. So your book, The Adrenal Stress Connection, is that recently released, or has that been around for a little while?
It's new to the U.S. It's just been launched this month, and I'm quite excited about it because, as we know, adrenal fatigue and stress is a big factor in today's world, especially with women. A lot of my women patients are coming in that are overwhelmed and stressed and can't lose weight and aren't sleeping very well. So, and I'm seeing it in a lot younger women as well. So it is definitely a very important issue that that my job is to educate. Yeah. And let people know about it.
What's the current state of women that come in to see you? Do you think most of them are sort of brand new to all this, or are some of them educated in maybe what's going on?
You know what? I see varied ages of women that come into my practice. Some of them are fairly well versed, but I know that there are quite a few of them that aren't very they don't really know a lot about the environmental toxins. They don't know about some of the things that maybe they're putting in their bodies that are affecting their health. They know that they're not feeling great. They know they're not sleeping. They know their hormones are out of balance, but they don't know what to do about it. So they need some direction. They need some guidance. They don't know where to start. So that's where I come in.
Wow. Sounds like every woman I know these days.
I know,
like me.
right?
Yeah, we all need some help.
I wish we were taught these sort of principles in school. Wouldn't that be? It would just cut a lot of the learning curve out, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I think they're starting in younger ages. Like I know in my community, in the elementary schools, they are starting with like healthy eating or food programs, just so that they can teach the kids at such a young age about like fruits and vegetables and making healthy snacks and things like that, which is really promising and exciting.
Gosh, you would think. So are they still doing the food pyramid? Do they do the food pyramid in Canada? Same type of thing?
If you talk to like a dietitian, like I don't know, in the States they have dietitians, and then who are more, conventionally minded, conventional medicine. Nutritionists usually do not follow the whole food pyramid guide, but there are some sort of more old school, more conventional medicine dietitians or doctors that do follow the pyramid.
The pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
The famous
Which
pyramid.
is sort of backwards.
Know, right?
Just a little bit backwards.
Yeah, the pyramid should be flipped upside down, probably.
Exactly.
The corners just aren't working anymore.
Yeah.
Can I ask how you even got started in this? Did you grow up with some health problems, or what got you interested in this whole women's major issues anyway?
You know what? I started off actually as in university, I was going to become a medical doctor. I've always loved sciences. I've always loved working with people and helping people. And so I thought the logical choice for me was to go into conventional medicine. And so I was doing my pre-medical studies. And as I was in university doing that, I kind of just lost focus a little bit. And I sort of took a step back and I thought, is this something that I can really see myself doing for the rest of my life? Is this really what medicine and health is all about? And my parents, I'm very close with both my mom and dad, and my mom, she actually found this huge article that was in our national newspaper. It was all about naturopathic medicine. And she's like, I think this is what you should do. And I'd never heard of naturopathic medicine. I didn't know there was such a thing that you could go out and, educate and empower people and look at sort of the underlying root cause. And it was a holistic. And I read that and I was like, boom. I'm like, that's what I'm doing.
Done.
How far into medical school were you at that point?
I was just doing my pre-medical studies. So I was doing my undergrad which was perfect because I'd already done all that for naturopathic medicine. So I just did the switch before I even applied to conventional medical school.
That's incredible. Was your mom sort of into this kind of lifestyle? Okay, so
my mom's Chinese, so she's from Hong Kong, and when we were growing up, she always had these like Chinese herbal concoctions that she would, like these soups that she would feed us when we were
no
sick.
Idea what they are.
Yeah, and so they were already towards that direction. Like we never had, like Cheetos or pop or any like the really bad junk food growing up.
That's
like,
so good.
She did everything really from scratch.
Gosh,
so
how
it just
blessed are you?
It just made sense.
That's so cool.
For me.
So why did you go off into this weird world of medical science and all this stuff?
You know what? It was just I didn't even know like naturopathic medicine existed. I don't think she knew naturopathic medicine existed. And 15 years ago when I looked into that realm, it was funny because even some of my friends said like, are you going to make it as a naturopathic doctor? Like, is that a viable profession to go into? Because not a lot of people knew about it. And now so many people are switching over. Yeah. And it's booming. We have 2 schools now in Canada. You guys, I think, have 4 schools here in the U.S.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It's kind of sad that I remember the first time I started working with my naturopath, and I said that to my mom, and she goes, "Oh, so you didn't go to the real doctor?" And it really was offensive to me. And I think that people are starting to wake up. And unfortunately, I think that that's starting to become less and less the case. But I thought that's how uneducated people really are about what's out there.
And I'm finding a lot of, because I know up in Canada, like our medical system is definitely broken. And I'm finding a lot of my patients are coming in just saying, I can't get into my doctor. There's huge waiting lists. I'm waiting for like 6 months to get, a CAT scan or to get to the root of the problem. They just keep feeding me, pharmaceutical after pharmaceutical. And so they're like, you know what? I'm coming to see you because I know you're going to spend the time to really look at the whole picture.
Right.
Yeah.
My stress levels, my hormone levels, what I'm eating, not just sort of look at, okay, what's your symptom? Here's a pharmaceutical for that symptom, right? Because that's usually what conventional medicine is all about. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I have some really close friends that are medical doctors that I do work closely with. But conventional medicine has its time and place. But I think when you look at chronic disease and prevention, I mean, a lot more people are going towards the holistic medicine, naturopathic medicine approach.
I think because everyone's probably getting frustrated with the Band-Aid slapped on the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't get to the root, I mean, personally, my own journey, I felt like if you don't dig deep, you're just going to keep going like this and going like this.
Absolutely.
And you're not making any headway.
You just get more chronic.
Right. You get more chronic.
What's wild too is, with women's hormones and issues and chronic systemic infections or imbalances in the body, it's really strange to throw a pharmaceutical at it because there's so much going on. Like you were just talking about environmental
complex.
stress, all this other stuff, food, diet, exercise, all these mitigating factors that could be all playing a role in this huge, big problem people have. And it just seems so foreign to me to throw here's a prescription. You know, it just seems so
kind of silly.
You know, I can't believe that people take that and they take it and they think that it's going to work, and that's all they...
Well, they start off by taking it, but then they soon realize, 2, 3, 4 weeks down the road, when another problem arises, like a side effect from the pharmaceutical arises, then they realize, okay, I need to dig deeper. Like, this isn't the answer.
Yeah.
And then they go to their doctor, and then they get another pharmaceutical to combat the side effect from the pharmaceutical that they were on in the first place.
And it just goes into...
vicious cycle.
Oblivion.
Gosh.
So what are some of the main things that you're seeing with women? We were talking a little bit before the show. One of the alarming things is that women are coming in at such a younger and younger age.
It's really, really shocking. I think, and we'll probably be discussing this more in detail, but I think the environment plays a huge role, environmental toxins. I'm seeing a lot of girls that are having serious menstrual issues, whether it's like very painful periods, very heavy periods, irregular periods, even women that are having problems with infertility. So women that are, in their 20s, late 20s, or even early 30s that are having miscarriages, they can't get pregnant. Even women that are getting, having menopausal symptoms in their late 30s, which is shocking.
Yeah.
Sleep disturbances. Before it used to be that, sleep disturbances only occurred in menopausal women that were going through the change in the hormones. But now, I have friends that are in their 30s that have had sleep disturbances since they were in their 20s. It's like, why is that happening?
Wow.
And even in smaller, even teens that are having like anxiety, depression, the pressure of school and responsibilities, but also the quality of our food. And then again, you throw in the environmental toxins, the plastics, the pesticides, the cosmetics, all of that. It's like too much for the body to handle.
Yeah. And it's weird too, because these things aren't sort of things that encroach on our life, or it's not like you're walking behind a big bus breathing fumes. These are just plastics that you're exposed to every day. Receipts,
it's a cumulative effect.
But they don't seem like they're really that big a deal, but they are, aren't they?
Absolutely. So there are a lot of less obvious things that, and that we all may be aware of, but, a lot of the patients that come in, they have no idea that, drinking out of their plastic water bottle is exposing them to bisphenol A, known as BPA, that's an estrogen mimicker that's affecting their hormones.
Yeah.
Or, some of their cosmetics, whether it's lotions or foundation or mascara or lipstick, that there are phthalates in there that are, again, disrupting their hormones in a very, very harmful, negative way. And then we look at the food, right? Genetically modified foods. We look at pesticides. You throw all that at somebody, plus just the stress of maybe work and family responsibilities, and their liver may not be working very well, their adrenals are getting a little bit more tired. That's kind of a disaster for chronic disease.
And these are all being set up by women who most likely or maybe didn't breastfeed, and with our food supply being so depleted in nutrients. Because I think I read somewhere recently that you would have to eat, I think it was something around 50 peaches today to get the same nutritional value as one peach.
Surprised me.
Like 40 years ago. Or
I think it really
ago.
was that bad.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
And so the foundation is not there to begin with, and
exactly.
then you're piling all this stuff
exactly.
on top.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know, it's shocking.
So what that's such a big thing to wrap your mind around. When people come and see you, how do you encourage them? Is it to cut out a few things or add in a few things, or kind of where do you reach people?
So what I really try to do is, one of our biggest philosophies when it comes down to naturopathic medicine is education. So you start with educating, but you don't want to overwhelm people.
Right.
So you start with really, really small, easy steps. Just educating about, cosmetics and giving people resources. So I have, I love the Environmental Working Group website, right? So I send a lot of my patients there. I create handouts based on the Environmental Working Group website, so that, when I have brands of cosmetics or brands of products or brands of, sort of foods and recipes and cookbooks, and, so that I can make it really easy for them. So I'm not just saying, okay, you need to cut out this. Okay, go do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure, you don't want to set them up to fail. You want to make sure that they have all the resources there, that they're really going to make these positive changes.
I want to know why they're doing it. I mean,
Exactly.
that doesn't make a lot of sense to throw out your makeup if you're like, oh.
And I don't ever say that. I don't say go home and throw everything in the garbage. I'll say, Nancy and I were talking about it earlier, but, you start one step at a time, one room at a time. So maybe start with the bathroom, right? Start with, once you run out of your mascara or your lotion or your shampoo, then go to the health food store. Go onto the Environmental Working Group website. They have all the clean products there. And then you start sourcing out those products, and then you slowly start switching over time. In the kitchen, if you have all your plastic containers, start switching over to glass. Don't use the microwave. Don't use styrofoam. Sort of easy things like that.
Sure.
I saw this thing going around Facebook recently of where they were styrofoam. Some people had like a styrofoam inside a microwave, and they were. I mean, could you imagine?
That's just nasty.
I mean, could you imagine? Or I've seen how they'll give little babies their formula that are based on soy or something
In a plastic bag, in the bottle, in the microwave.
in the microwave.
I mean,
It's incredible.
It's amazing
Yeah.
we survive at all, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting too, because in some areas, like I know in my community, like you would never see styrofoam. Like you would never see styrofoam if you went to a coffee shop or what. It just does not exist.
Wow.
In Victoria, Vancouver, West Coast. But I know when we travel all over North America, I mean, there are some areas that we've traveled in the U.S. where that's just all we see. Like we go to a coffee shop and we ask for a tea, and it's like, oh, here you go, styrofoam. And I'm like, do you have anything else?
Oh, has your neighborhood cleaned up their act, or they just never really got on that bandwagon to begin with?
I don't know. I don't know if it's just, British Columbia. Like when you look at British Columbia, Victoria, Vancouver, West Coast, and I think it's the same thing for you guys, like Oregon, Washington, California. I think people tend to be a little bit more educated as far as holistic medicine, eating genetically modified foods, organics, and things like that.
Yeah.
I find in certain other parts of the country, even in Canada, like back east, for example, even some of my colleagues that are naturopathic doctors, there is a lot more education that needs to be put out there with respect to things like plastics and styrofoam. So
I guess we really take it for granted. Californians are a little bit more psycho than the rest of the world.
But
as
you
far as
guys
being turned
also
on.
have, I was here visiting a girlfriend for a few days before I started my lecture tour, and you guys have like a plethora of organic juice bars and organic vegan restaurants and oh my goodness, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. We have one right
we
up the
have
street.
ours too, but you guys have like 10 times what we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's-
we
it's-
laugh.
It's
How
really,
many churches and how many juice bars?
Yeah, right.
corner.
It's awesome.
It's pretty cool, though.
Yeah.
That's really cool. We have a listener question, Tana, in the chat room. One of our regular listeners wants to know about yeast infections, and she's had an infection 2 weeks for the past 2 weeks, and is looking to clear up her yeast infection. I'm sure you see a lot of women with this issue.
And that's interesting. So again, when we talk about plastics and xenoestrogens and how it does affect that hormonal balance between estrogen and progesterone, meaning that there's more harmful bad estrogen in the body versus the good estrogen and versus progesterone, that can be an underlying root cause to why women do get chronic yeast infections. You also have to look at the gut. So why is the yeast there in the first place? There's not enough of the good bacteria. Or I've also seen women who've had a history of being on the birth control pill, hormone replacement therapy. That can also disrupt your natural flora, so you're more at risk of developing yeast infections. So there's lots of different factors that come into play for sure.
So what would someone want to do if they have a yeast infection? Because this affects men too. I mean, it's not like it's a women-only issue, but
And
it's-
babies.
And babies too, right? Isn't that
They get
what
thrush, don't they?
Isn't that what thrush
basically
is?
yeast? Yeah.
And colic, right? Is that what that is too?
I think that's more of a cough.
Is that more of a cough?
No,
Colicky?
colic is more like digestive related.
It is.
Oh, okay. So with a yeast infection, obviously people should avoid sugary foods, processed foods, obviously genetically modified foods,
Yeah.
all these types of
So
things.
what usually feeds yeast?
Sugar.
Yes.
Alcohol.
So
all that stuff people are addicted to.
Wine.
yes.
Yeah.
So and it can be really hard for people in the first place to like
Yeah.
avoid everything, but that you want to starve the yeast, and then you want to try to replenish what is missing in the body. So one of the products that I use in my practice is, it can be used for bladder infections, but I do use it for yeast infections as well, and it's called UriSense. So it has a specific bacteria. It's called BB536, and it's a specific probiotic, so good bacteria that helps to flourish. It's shelf stable too, so you can travel with it. You don't have to worry about all the good bacteria dying.
Yeah, sometimes they want you to refrigerate those too.
Exactly. So this one's shelf stable, does not need to be refrigerated, but it helps to replenish those good bacteria. So along with starving the yeast, getting rid of the sugar, and then replenishing the good bacteria with a strain like that.
What was the name of that product?
It's called UriSense. So it's also very beneficial because that's the other thing I see. I see a lot of chronic bladder infections as well.
Yeah.
I bet. Ooh.
So again, there's always usually an underlying hormonal imbalance or even an underlying immune deficiency that's happening, which is usually related to either stress or hormonal imbalances.
Gosh, it must just be so incredible. It must be fun because it's almost like being a detective because it's
absolutely. It's like you were reading my mind right there.
Digestive.
He does that. He's scary.
His digestive and immune system. It's a lot like you're trying to put it all together.
That's why I love what I do, because there's never a dull moment in the office, right? You never know what you're getting, or you might have the same case, but what might be affecting that person is completely different than the patient before.
Because someone else's situation could be almost identical, but they might have twice or three times as much stress. So it's stress plays a role, right? Wow. I heard there's a guest on our show recently. I don't remember who this was, but there's a guest that said it's his contention that we know in modern science and modern medicine less than 1% of how the body works and what's really going on. And he said everything we know is based on that less than 1%. And I just think, if that's true, what an amazing... I mean, we have so much work to do, don't we? Right? I mean, if that's 99% that we have to try to figure out what's really happening in the body.
And there's always new research coming out about, food, using food as medicine or herbs or supplements or, and I think there's more research coming out with respect to the more natural side, doing more research with food and
oils,
herbs and supplements and omegas and essential fatty acids and absolutely.
Wow.
I want to ask you after the break about vaccinations because I feel like they play a role in women's health.
That's a touchy subject.
It is a touchy subject,
I know.
But I feel like it's something that affects everybody, So we are with Dr. Marita, and her website is drmarita.com, DoctorMarita, right? I got that right? Good. drmarita.com, and we'll be right back right after this break. I wanted to tell you about this really powerful and unique product called the Q Laser. Did you know there's over 2,500 peer-reviewed clinical research studies showing the benefits of low-level laser therapy on the body? We had Dr. Larry Lytle on episode 165 talking all about it. Dr. Lytle, what is the Q Laser?
The Q Laser is a light-delivering device, handheld, rechargeable, that is for lay people and professionals that works at the cell level of the body to restore energy. Since the body is all composed of cells and the cells are composed of atoms, it's good for any and everything in the body. It is especially beneficial for injuries. It will reduce swelling and inflammation before your eyes. Literally, you can have a sprained ankle and apply the laser, and within 30 minutes you can see that the swelling in the ankle has been reduced. Since all disease is inflammatory, you can assume that same process is working if you have some type of intestinal problem. We have pictures of using a heat instrument to diagnose the intestinal inflammation. We can show that intestinal inflammation is pretty much gone within 3 minutes using the Q1000 laser. It's the number one tool in your medicine cabinet. I have a saying, never leave home without your laser. I have had 3 serious burns, and each time I had my laser with me, I applied the laser immediately after I had the burn. I never even blistered.
Kate and I don't want to be without ours. We've worked out a special deal with Dr. Lytle for all of our listeners. If you'd like to learn more about how the Q Laser can dramatically improve your health, go to extremehealthradio.com/laser.
Would you like to feel more energy and a better sense of well-being? What's flowing through your blood makes all the difference. In my 22 years of nutritional practice, I've found that the food and supplements taken into the body determines to a large degree the amount of energy and happiness people have. One giant step in the direction of more energy and happiness is the type and quantity of protein you consume. 2 years ago, I was introduced to a whey protein powder that gave me more energy and a better sense of well-being. Having struggled with low energy, this was a welcome experience. This protein is called One World Whey. It is the first ever undamaged whey protein powder from grass-fed cows. People report the following: profound improvements in blood sugar and energy, elimination of pain, better bowel movements, detoxification, younger-looking skin and fat loss. Athletes love the strength and endurance-producing effects. Call 888-988-3325. That's 888-988-3325. Or visit oneworldwhey.com. That's oneworldwhey.com.
And in my opinion, this is the best raw grass-fed protein powder on the market. It's developed on Amish farms. It's got 25 grams of protein in each single scoop. Crazy amount of protein. Increases your glutathione levels. It helps to release heavy metals and toxins, decreases inflammation all throughout the body, especially in the gut. And not only that, but it helps you build muscle and increase energy as well. It has tons of anti-aging properties. So really, really great protein powder. We like to use it every day in our smoothies. And our resident cancer guru, Ty Bollinger, what do you think about One World Whey?
Over the commercial there, you're talking about One World Whey. I want to encourage anybody that's listening, go to their website, go to Justin and Kate's website, and buy the One World Whey. That's something that we include every day in our diet. Every lunch, we have a One World Whey smoothie with super greens mixed in with it. It is fantastic. It's the best protein you're going to get. And as they mentioned, it's from grass-fed cows. It's organic. It's cold pressed. I mean, it is. You're going to get huge nutritive values from this One World Whey. It's the best protein on the market, I think. So, then that's something that most people are deficient in is quality protein. So I highly recommend you go there and go to their website and buy this stuff. It's the best that's on the market. And I'm good friends with Stephen Hewer, who is the owner of Synergistic Nutrition, and he's a quality guy, and they have excellent customer service as well.
Yeah, he's an amazing guy. We interviewed him on episode 88, and he's just an amazing guy, and I really love what he's doing. That's why I love supporting his work and love taking his products as well.
Yeah, great stuff.
And if you'd like to support Extreme Health Radio and the work that Kate and I do, you can get your hands on this One World Whey protein powder that I love so much at extremehealthradio.com/whey. That's WHEY. Or you could check it out in our store as well. That's extremehealthradio.com/whey.
100% listener supported. Extreme Health Radio. Opening minds and transforming lives worldwide. Don't forget to join our thriving community for health tips, inspiration, and show updates at extremehealthradio.com/Facebook.
Okay, maybe I won't.
All right, we're having a great time here with Dr. Marita in the studio. This is a lot of fun. This is episode 356 of Extreme Health Radio. So if you want to check out the show notes, you can do so at extremehealthradio.com/356. And if you have any questions about that laser or the One World Whey protein powder that we talked about during the break, you can always email me or check them out in our store as well. If you're interested in learning more about that stuff, feel free to send me an email. And we're having a good time here, just talking, chatting it up during the break. We're talking a little bit before about the vaccination issue, and I figured, it's something that is definitely an issue, and I'm sure you have people that come in and ask you questions, but it is a touchy subject. So I'm curious, what role does it play, if any, or I'm sure it does play some kind of role?
Yes, I believe, and you're right. I mean, there's a lot of controversy surrounding vaccinations. I know some of my close friends that have really struggled with their own kids on what way to go. Do I vaccinate? Do I not? The best advice that I usually give is I try to give as many resources to my patients, because ultimately, they have to make that decision on their own. But I do think that the whole scheduling of vaccinations has changed over the years. I think there's a lot of other factors that play into that. We just finished talking about environmental toxins, genetically modified foods. So I definitely think that there's a cumulative effect that is contributing to, why we're seeing so many children that are having health issues like ADD and autism and things like that. yeah, it's one of those touchy subjects. And I usually say, if you can, one of my recommendations is often to, delay if you can, and then work with your healthcare provider to do so.
Is there any merit to the homeopathic vaccinations? Is there anything? Are those?
I have colleagues that do use the homeopathic protocols, but I think it's just one part of the piece of the puzzle. I don't think, you still have to look at proper food introduction, breastfeeding, mom's health, baby's health. I don't think you can just say, oh, well, we'll just do these homeopathic vaccinations and we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
So I think, again, it's part of being proactive and being supportive to the baby and mom, but again, it's just one piece of it.
Yeah, it's a huge issue. And it's again, just like you said, it's one piece of probably 30 or 40 things or more that could be affecting our health. I want to talk a little bit about your book, The Adrenal Stress Connection. And so our listeners are so incredibly smart. And so most people know how the adrenals work, but just for those that don't, how does the adrenals work? How do they play a role in stress? And how does all that affect our bodies as women or men? Really doesn't matter.
So, yes. So the adrenal glands do affect both men and women. They're two small glands that sit on top of your kidneys. They're known as the stress glands because they help your body respond to stressors, whether it's environmental, whether it's your job, whether it's relationships. So day-to-day stressors, those adrenal glands, they pump out stress hormones. So they pump out things like epinephrine, or also known as adrenaline, noradrenaline, cortisol. Everyone's heard of cortisol, aldosterone, and then they also release small amounts of your sex hormones too. So estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. So we know that, the body's pretty resilient up to a point, but when we have chronic stress over long periods of time or big traumatic acute stressors, those adrenal glands, they cannot keep up with the demand. And often what happens is the adrenal glands start running out of steam and they start getting very, very tired and fatigued. What happens in those cases is, instead of your body functioning normally and able to, control the digestive processes, control inflammation, make sure the immune system's working properly, there's not enough energy to be feeding those systems because it's the adrenal glands and that stress is taking over. So in those cases, a lot of times, and what I see in my practice, because I've been in practice for almost 10 years now, is I'm finding that adrenal issues is often the underlying root cause to many of the chronic diseases that I'm seeing. Wow. So if somebody comes in, say, with chronic sleep disturbances or depression or anxiety, typically if I dig deep enough, there's some kind of event, whether it's, a car accident, whether it's a death of a loved one, whether it was a really, long, 5 years at a really stressful job, there's some kind of connection that goes back to that chronic stress, adrenals pumping out those stress hormones that's related back to their chronic disease or their symptoms that they're coming with.
It's amazing. So someone could have sort of like a weak link. Is it possible for someone to have a weak link genetically, like maybe their some organ functions not working correctly, but then everything seems fine, but then when they get exposed to some sort of traumatic, someone in their life dies or something, and then the adrenals start producing these hormones, and then what happens to their weak links? They just stop working correctly?
Absolutely. And that's the thing, there are definitely some people that are more susceptible than others, because you see some people that are like, okay, well, they've got really busy lives and they must be really stressed out, but they're not, debilitated and aren't sleeping or whatnot. And it's really interesting. I'm just going to quote one of the, TED Talks. I think we were talking about TED Talks earlier, but there's a really neat TED Talk, another one that you should check out. And it was a psychologist that, talked about how you perceive stress absolutely affects how your body responds to stress, which totally makes sense. And she quotes a study, and the study was done, they actually took, I think it was 30,000 adults over 8 years. And they asked two very important questions. They asked questions like, do you have a lot of stress? But this was the most important question was, do you think that stress is harmful to your health? And then what they did is they took public records to see who died. And it was really interesting because the people that had high levels of stress did have a 43% increased risk of dying, but it was only true for those people that perceived that that stress was harmful to their health.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting? So the people that had the same amount of stress, but said, you know what, this is a challenge. I'm going to look at it as, I'm going to grow and learn from this.
Right.
It's an opportunity.
Right.
They were no higher risk of dying than the people that just didn't have any stress at all. It was the people that actually perceived that the stress was very harmful and that was going to be doing damage to them. They had the
power of the mind.
Wow, that's
Isn't that crazy?
Fascinating. Yeah. So, golly, I'm just trying to think of how that translates. So, if you're, so I guess if you're, driving somewhere, trying to be on time, for your first job interview or something, and it's really important that you get this job, and something happened at home, and now you're late, and now you just hit traffic, and so you're thinking, I'm not going to get this job. Now that would be a stressor for most people,
Yes.
Sitting in traffic for 20, 30 minutes to this job. So if you were to just take a deep breath in traffic and try to breathe through it, then
your body wouldn't probably respond as badly or poorly as if you were sitting there in traffic going, oh my God, I'm going to miss, I'm going to miss my interview. Everything's going to be terrible. I'm not going to get the job, and just start going into that whole
crazy town.
Yeah.
In your brain.
Crazy town.
Crazy brain.
Do you think it's important for people that, I guess it depends on each person, but do you think it's important for people to sort of go and go get a workout in, or go hit a punching bag or something where they kind of just, or go for a long hike that's really, it gets all that out, right?
Balance is huge. And I do talk to my patients about that. Absolutely. Work is important even if you love what you do, but you also have to make sure that you find those other outlets, whether it's hiking or being out in nature, or you guys have you've got the West Coast here, beautiful beach. Definitely I talk to my patients about that, but you don't want to over exercise either, because I do have patients that think, okay, well, I'm just going to be a marathon runner and I'm just going to run, miles and miles and miles.
Run my stress right out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think another thing that's really important is, obviously we talked about diet, lifestyle, and removing environmental toxins, but also just preventative strategies. There are some excellent herbs that are very important for just supporting healthy adrenal function. And I've now started talking to my patients about even preventatively starting early. Start before, the stress gets really, really bad. Even if you're really busy and you're perceiving that it's all good stress, it's still important to have things like these herbs. We call them adaptogens. You've probably heard of adaptogens before. So things like rhodiola and ashwagandha and schisandra. And one of my favorite products that I use in my practice is called Adrenasense. It's by Natural Factors Women's Sense. And the Adrenasense, it's a really, really lovely, gentle formula. I talk a lot about it in my book, The Adrenal Stress Connection, but it's one of my go-tos for people that may be in that crazy stress mode, adrenal fatigue, can't cope, not sleeping, anxiety, depression, can't lose weight, all of that. Yeah. But it's also a great formula just preventatively. And I use it because, I travel obviously all over North America, and I also have a full-time clinical practice, but I just use it preventatively to just keep my adrenals working well and strong and balanced. And
because everything we're really doing, have you ever, I was going to say, everything that we normally do is a stress. And have you tried these flotation tanks? Have you heard about these?
Oh, yeah. We actually just got one in Victoria.
Have you tried it?
It's a clinic. You go in, and it's called, what is it called? Float or something like that. Yeah. And you just go there and you float. It's like a big Epsom salt bath, right?
Oh my gosh. Talk about
it's our favorite thing in the entire world.
Yeah. I mean, all your stress just goes away. It's incredible.
I haven't tried it yet,
but you have
it's
to
on my
deal with
list
your monkey brain at the beginning. I can see how. I told Justin the other day, we were having a bunch of people over for dinner, and we've been doing them, 10, 12 times now?
Yeah.
That's the only time I went in, and I had so much going on in my brain, I actually could not relax into it. And I was sad, because that's kind of the thing I look forward to doing every week. But I thought, this probably wouldn't work much for the person or the patient who goes and has that hour and a half and they just can't turn it off. It's like you're sitting there floating for no reason. It's almost like you have to rework and rewire your brain to even get the benefits of something like that.
Because I talked to one of my patients about that. I have a patient that has a lot of extreme anxiety, and we talked about him going to this, and he's like, I think it would just drive. I think it would make me worse because I would be laying there
focused on your stress, on your anxiety.
Yeah.
I think that could be, I think it's a hard, I mean, you and I have, you know, we really enjoy it, but who I was 10 years ago and who I am now, I think they would have been very different experiences. I think you have to.
I think you need to do some of the work beforehand or give the specific supportives to kind of nourish that nervous system before, and then that can be a really good supportive treatment along with what you're doing. But I think to just say, okay, go and
float your brain out. Well, so the good news is, there is good news, I'm sure, your adrenals can be fixed.
Absolutely, yes.
Right.
So the good
people
news
don't need
is
to freak out.
No. So the good news is that they can definitely nourish their adrenal glands back to optimally functioning adrenals.
Yes.
But it can take time, because one of the biggest questions I get is, okay, so I'm going to start on all this program. So am I going to feel better? Are my adrenals going to bounce back in, you know, a week or 2 weeks?
Yep.
So my question is always, well, how long have you had the stress for? 10, 15, 20, 30 years. So it does take time, along with good nutrition, exercise, meditation, yoga, all of that, deep breathing, to nourish the adrenal glands back. So people have to be realistic with, you know, when they're going to see shifts. But if they stick to a really good program, I usually say within at least 4 to 6 weeks, you're going to see some really, really positive and good results.
I know really I did when I had my adrenal fatigue. Are we going to go to a break?
Yeah.
Right before we do, I just have one quick question. Is, with your patients, do you think the best test is a saliva type? I mean, I was sent to go do for 24-hour period, I collected my saliva sample.
So that's kind of the most gold standard. Okay. So yes, saliva, cortisol testing, where you would do a 2-point or 4-point test. Okay. But I do have a really excellent questionnaire in my book, the adrenal stress. It's called the Adrenal Stress Indicator Questionnaire, that I do often hand out to a lot of my patients. And it's great because I can just do it in office, and they can kind of check. And so we kind of already, based on symptomology and based on the questionnaire, I can kind of say, I have a feeling that your adrenals probably need some assistance.
Okay. That makes sense based on what else is going on with people. But interesting.
That is so incredible.
Oh, this adrenal thing.
Because I always thought it was the thyroid that sort of controlled the hormones, but it's...
But you know what? Well, that's a whole...
But
yeah, because the adrenals and the thyroid work very, very closely together.
So I'll ask you after the break, because this is too good. All right, this is episode 356 of Extreme Health Radio. Thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to be right back with Dr. Marita. Her website is drmarita.com. And we'll be right back right after this break. If you are currently using any hair care products that contain dyes or colorings, these things can be carcinogenic. You see, anything we put on our skin, even in the shower, gets into our bloodstream and causes a toxic overload to our organs over time. That's why we only recommend Morocco Method hair care products, because they're 100% chemical free, 100% organic, raw, vegan, and even wild crafted and picked according to the lunar cycles. Listen to what our guest Anthony Morocco says about foaming agents in the shampoos.
Well, number one with hair care is the sodium lauryl sulfate, which is the foaming agent, which is really carcinogenic, and it's very, very toxic. So that's number one, and so they're so afraid of it. The industry has made 38 different names for it. They've created cocamide, they've created coconut, they've created palm oil, but anything that foams is sodium lauryl sulfate. So I would say that you really need to read your ingredient lists. And if you cannot pronounce the word, it's made in a laboratory.
So would even organic hair care products that foam, would those be damaging as well?
Yes. Organic really today is not what it used to be. So it's just the word. It really, to me, is not reality. If you want a real product, you want to look at wild craft.
As a former hairstylist, I love Anthony's products. If you'd like to have truly healthy and luxurious hair, no matter what your texture, go to extremehealthradio.com/MM for Morocco Method, or see it in our store. Again, that's extremehealthradio.com/MM to learn even more.
I have to say, I have been absolutely loving this product by Tristan Truscott and Peter Ragnar, called Good Morning, Good Evening Qigong. If you want to listen to the interview we did with Tristan, you can go to extremehealthradio.com/127. And Qigong is a great way to de-stress the body. And as you know, there's a huge component to disease caused by stress. And stress is a huge factor in how we live our lives and the amount of energy we have and the amount of vitality we have. And so, Dr. Shade, what do you think about Qigong?
people come to me and they're really sick and they got this blown out neurological system and all this toxicity. And I tell them, you need to do Qigong, Tai Chi. You need to do these things that settle down and restore your neurology, because it puts together all the parts. It puts you back into that state where you can start to detoxify. And so I highly, highly recommend all that.
And what about you, Kit Campbell? What do you think about Qigong? Do you like it as well?
Qigong is amazing. And the reason that I believe it to be amazing is everything here is energy. That is a scientific fact, if there ever is one. So when you're practicing Qigong, you're actually drawing energy into your body. Your intention, whatever your intention is behind any action, will determine the level of energy, type of energy that you absorb into your body. So your intention behind is very important, just like thought. So when you're practicing Qigong, you're actually bringing energy in and you're bringing out the stuff that might be a bit stale. With Tai Chi, it's totally different. The energy runs underneath the skin because it's more of a martial. This is the Chinese understanding, by the way. It's more of a martial art. So Qigong is very, very good for bringing that energy into the body, and just fantastic.
If you're interested in picking up this Qigong course by Tristan Truscott and Peter Ragnar, go to extremehealthradio.com/Qigong. That's QIGONG. And you can learn more about it. There's a great video on that page, and you can learn more about it on that page. And I highly, highly recommend this product. I love it myself, so go ahead and check that out. extremehealthradio.com/Qigong.
All free shows, all the time, on Extreme Health Radio. Opening minds and transforming lives worldwide. Join our community today. Sign up to our email list and instantly get our free gift to you, along with loads of inspirational content and cutting-edge tips to help change your life at extremehealthradio.com/subscribe.
All right, we're having a great time here with Dr. Marita, DoctorMarita, drmarita.com. If you have any questions about the Qigong program, we were just talking about this during the break. Ringing the temple bell is part of the Qigong program. Maybe it affects adrenals, maybe it doesn't, we're not sure.
Anybody's guess.
Yeah. But if you have any questions about that Qigong program, please let me know. You can check it out in our store, or if you want to check out the Morocco Method hair care products, raw, vegan, organic,
Wild crafted. Picked at the full moon, even
no
sometimes.
Chemicals, no phthalates.
Yeah, he's on it.
So you can check that out in our store as well. And please let me know if you have any questions about that stuff. We're having a good time here. And before the break, we're talking a little bit about the thyroid. And I always thought the thyroid was sort of the master switch of hormones. But you were saying during the break that the underlying switch underneath that is
often the adrenal glands.
Often the adrenal glands.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So how do they play a role together? Because everyone thinks thyroid, their hormones, and they start there. But you were saying during the break that a lot of people who come into your practice, they think they have thyroid issues, and you do some testing and find out they're okay.
Mm-hmm. And it's the adrenals again.
The adrenals,
That's the issue.
Those sneaky Pete's.
I know.
Sneaky adrenals.
I know.
Sneaky adrenals.
Well, it's interesting because if you look at the symptoms of adrenal dysfunction and then you look at the symptoms of low thyroid, they're very, very similar across the board. So that's why I think it can be really easy for consumers or my patients to get confused, to think it's one thing, but it's actually another. So when you look at the adrenals and the thyroid, they're like sort of sister glands. They work very, very closely together. And what can often happen is when we talk about chronic stress that happens in the body, especially with cortisol levels, when there is a dysfunction, say chronic stress, high cortisol, that actually affects how well the thyroid is going to pump out your thyroid hormones.
Okay.
And we know that the thyroid gland does release two hormones, right? T4 and T3. Your body converts T4 into the more bioactive thyroid hormone, which is T3. But there are a lot of people that have conversion issues, so they're not able to convert into that more bioactive.
Big problem, yeah.
And typically it's the adrenals, it's that cortisol whether too high or too low, that can affect that conversion that occurs in the body. The other thing I find, we were talking about during the break, was, there's a lot of women with regards to thyroid disease that get overlooked. Like they kind of sit in that subclinical picture where they go to see their doctor, they get testing done, and the doctor's like, okay, you're fine. All the tests came back normal, even though they have all the symptoms of low thyroid, but they haven't addressed the adrenals. But the testing is really, really lacking because they're not looking at the whole, the optimal levels of thyroid testing.
You mean testing the thyroid or testing the adrenals is lacking?
Or both?
Both. So they haven't looked at the adrenals, but also when they've looked at the thyroid testing, typically most doctors will test, it's called a TSH test, right? It's called thyroid stimulating hormone, which is just, again, one of the pieces of the puzzle. So for a proper panel, you want to test the TSH, the T4, the T3. You may also want to do thyroid antibodies, and you may also even want to test reverse T3. But for most of my patients that come in with just a TSH test, and probably for a lot of your listeners, they're like, okay, well, I've had a TSH test done. When you look at the clinical reference range, the clinical reference range is very large. It's 0.45 to 4.5. Where, as naturopathic physicians, where we want to see you in an optimally functioning thyroid, we want to see you between 1.5, but for simplicity's sake, we usually say below 2, you're good. But a lot of times, women will come in and they'll say, well, my doctor tested my thyroid. My TSH levels were like 3.5, but they said that they were normal and fine because technically they're still in that reference range.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So
there's an ideal and there's like a
but they're not in the optimal range. So in those cases, I'm always looking at, okay, there's something going on with the thyroid. Let's see what's going on with the adrenals. The adrenals are often low, so let's support the adrenals. But then I will also give the thyroid a little bit of extra support as well. So things like iodine, tyrosine, ashwagandha. There's also another product that I've been using for years in my clinical practice called Thyrosense, which is also by Natural Factors. Works wonders combined with the adrenal product I mentioned, Adrenasense. And I find for my patients that really have trouble with metabolism, like increasing their metabolic rate, their hair's thinning, like a lot of the thyroid symptoms, but also adrenal symptoms. Once you correct the adrenals and the thyroid, or just even starting with correcting the adrenals, people notice such a big difference because it lessens the stress on those other systems in the body.
Those two organs are, like you said, sister organs. So would it behoove people to work on both at the same time?
Absolutely.
You'd want to do that, right? You wouldn't want to just say, I'm just going to focus on my adrenals or just my thyroid. You'd want to do both.
I would say so. If it's sort of more of a mild thyroid case, what I typically do is I'll just focus on the adrenals first to see if like the thyroid just kind of snaps out and actually gets functioning better on its own. But if somebody's coming in and they've said, I've been feeling like this for 10 years, then usually both of them need support.
Okay.
Interesting. So with the adrenals, what are some of the main herbs you talked about? Ashwagandha? Is that one of the ones?
So rhodiola, one of my favorite adaptogenic herbs. Ashwagandha, Schisandra, Siberian ginseng is a wonderful herb for stress, for normalizing cortisol levels, for nourishing the adrenal glands. Suma, a lot of people haven't heard of Suma, but Suma is an adrenal tonic, comes from Brazil.
Really?
It's also known as as a Brazilian ginseng. It's not a true ginseng though.
I've been there. I never heard of that. Suma. S-U-M-A?
Yes, Suma.
How cool. Okay, so is that like people can take it in tea form or something?
Yeah, well, it's actually found in the combination that I mentioned, the Adrenasense, but you could probably take it in a tea form or an herbal like tincture form.
That's so cool.
Wow.
That is so cool. So you can work. So I would imagine that most people, this is something I would love to work on. Stress in our culture and lifestyle and toxins like you're talking about, the phthalates, all these things coming up, it would behoove everyone to work on these two things. And when you do, you start seeing huge changes, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Sleep, sex drive, more energy. more determination, I'm sure
Probably
more
weight.
will.
Yeah,
Weight loss.
metabolism, your moods, inflammation, your immune system gets stronger. Like, it's all encompassing. And it's so amazing to see once you start targeting the right organs, the right systems, and then you combine that with healthy eating, that people are like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize it was that simple. And they feel so much better.
That is so awesome. So, in your book, The Adrenal Stress Connection, is there like a protocol that's in there where people can sort of take on these things themselves, or should they see and get tested and start and work with someone over time? How do you?
That's a great question. And I mean, everyone's an individual. So I find, and I get a lot of emails through my website too. So I find if there's a lot of stuff going on, especially if people are coming in and they're on multiple pharmaceuticals, then I typically say, like, work with a naturopathic doctor, work with a holistic medical doctor, whatnot. But I find in my book, I mentioned, like the adrenal stress questionnaire that's in there, which is a great place to start for a lot of people, because then they'll know, okay, where are my adrenals at? Do I need to start taking adrenal support? Maybe their adrenals are okay, but in my experience, most people need adrenal support.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other things. Like, I don't just talk about supplements in my books. Typically, I talk a lot about, like avoiding the environmental toxins. Here are some foods that are really, really nourishing for stress or for the adrenals, or, vitamin C, B vitamins, magnesium. So, there's a lot of different things that you can do to help with relieving.
I cannot wait to read your book.
This is so cool.
I'm going to start at the minute you leave.
Looking here on
I am.
page 6 here, dioxins, and then how do you pronounce this? Atrazine?
Atrazine.
What is that?
It's found in pesticides.
Pesticides. Speaking of that, we just there's people all around. They go around spraying Roundup in our neighborhood in all the cracks to try to get rid of cockroaches and
That's
things.
so toxic.
And it's you don't want to be downwind from that stuff.
No.
We shut all our windows up here in the house when they're even spraying it like a block away, because we're like, we don't trust what's going on out there.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't realize, again, that from a woman's health perspective, many of these toxins are hormone disruptors, in a very, very harmful and negative way. And I think we're now, mostly for women, but even for children, we were mentioning before, even for men, like prostate issues, prostate cancer.
It's all related. You talk about EMFs in here and heavy metals. That's great.
The whole
cell phones, computers, iPads, iPhones.
Everything we're sitting in this room right now.
I know, I was just thinking that.
What did you say?
At least we have some grounding mats around here. I said everything that's surrounding us right now. But
yeah, I don't have a cell phone for a lot of reasons, but that's one of the reasons.
That's smart.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like how much radiation they put off, but there's ways to mitigate it though.
To live in the world and
cell phones, right?
Try to be protective of ourselves.
So, for those who don't know, you're going to be doing a lecture tonight, and at Mother's Market in Costa Mesa, at 6:30 p.m. It's going to be a free lecture: healthy hormones at any age, more energy, and losing belly fat.
Yes,
that'd be cool.
Awesome. Very excited about it.
That is so cool. So it's a free lecture, and people can come and listen, and then it says free book with a purchase.
So anybody that comes to the lecture, some of the products that I've mentioned during today's show, if they purchase any of those products, they get one of my books for free.
Awesome.
How cool is that?
And I'll be doing book signings, and anybody wants to come and ask me a ton of questions. I love questions.
Great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how often do you come and do lectures, or do you do lectures all over the world, or do you come?
I do lectures all over North America. So it just, it depends on my schedule. I know I've got some Canadian dates in the spring, but I hope to be back down. I'm sure you guys have heard of Expo West, so I'll be down in March for that big convention in Anaheim.
Yeah.
But I always say, check out my website, drmarita.com, and on there I have a calendar of events, and it always shows where I'm going to be.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And if people want to work with you, I think you're saying during the break that people can need to see you first if they want to work with you over a distance, right?
Yeah, I can't really do distance treating, but I know that if somebody came up to my office and I did like a first initial visit and then I was monitoring them over distance, then that's okay.
You can do it
but
through
they
Skype or
have to,
something.
but they have to see me actually in person for an initial consultation.
Really good to know because a lot of our people travel. We were at Dr. Bergman's a couple weeks ago, and one of our listeners from Hawaii had flown over to see our chiropractor. So
that's true.
You never know who might end up seeing you.
And you know what? There's a flotation tank right up by the mothers that you're going to.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you about it out
You might need to take a visit.
in case you want to check it out.
I'm gonna have to do some like
calm down. From the
before the seminar.
Yeah, the lecture.
So great. So people can find you at drmarita.com. And do you have a newsletter list and a Facebook site? And how does all that work?
So I have Twitter. I have a Facebook that you can link on or like my page. I also have a monthly newsletter that you can subscribe to on my website.
Okay.
And I also have part of my website, it says Ask Dr. Marita, so people can also send me emails if they have any questions.
That's awesome.
As well.
That's so cool. Awesome.
Thank you for spending this time with us.
Thank you for having me.
I feel so blessed. So
fun.
by it. Thank you.
I'm so just glad that you made the trip down and so fun. So go on to drmarita.com, DOCTORMARITA, drmarita.com, and you can check out everything that she's up to. And if you are in the Southern California area at this moment, you can check out her tonight at 6:30 at Mother's Market. Are you, after this lecture, are you going back to Canada? Or are you not going to?
I think I have a private seminar tomorrow night, and then I'm heading back to Canada on Thursday.
Awesome. Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us on this episode of Extreme Health Radio. And again, if you want to check out the show notes, it's extremehealthradio.com/356.
Yes.
6, is that right?
356.
Okay. 356, okay. 354, 355.
I know, right?
So check out that page for all the links of all the products we talked about and different things that are on that particular page. And we appreciate you guys so much, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Kate and I have had our sauna for about a year now, I'd say, when we first got it from Phil Wilson. And it's an incredible machine. We use ours about every single day. Kate sits in about 20 minutes, and I sit in there about for a half hour. Usually watch a documentary, and it's extremely relaxing. It's really, really incredible machine. And if you go to extremehealthradio.com/sauna, you can learn all about it. We did an entire hour interview with Phil Wilson. You can check that out. You can look at the pictures of us with it. You can watch videos on that page. It helps you to sleep really, really well. You can lose a lot of weight with it. You can burn, I think, around 600 calories in about 20 minutes or so. It improves your skin, increases circulation all over the body, and circulation is critical for your health. You can prevent and reverse diseases with it if you have a cold or flu. It's incredible. It heats you down to the core. It heats 4 to 6 inches inside your body, so it's really incredible. And a lot of people use it for cancer as well. So if you have any kind of incurable, quote, disease, you can use it for that. And Dr. Shade is the foremost authority on detoxification. And listen to what he says about it.
How do I detoxify from plastics? I mean, you guys are using a sauna, and what does a sauna do for us? A sauna is great. It's moving a number of different toxins. Remember, we talked about the mice that if you put PCBs in there, then that made the mercury all that much worse. And sweating moves out a lot of plastics, volatiles, fat-based toxins. It's really good at moving those out, sweating those out. So that's how you're getting those out, and those are contributing to this synergistic soup inside the body. And so that's why they're good, is they're taking out a bunch of the different things in the soup.
And Daniel Vitalis, one of our favorite guests. What do you have to say about the sauna?
When you go into the sauna, like a far infrared sauna like you discussed, your body goes into a deep relaxation mode, and your sympathetic nervous system shuts down and your parasympathetic nervous system turns on. And when that's active, that's the nervous system, part of your nervous system that's active when you meditate. That becomes active, and your detoxification pathways open up wide. Why is this important? It's important because when you go running and you sweat, you're not necessarily eliminating very much toxicity from your body. But when you sweat in the sauna, you eliminate a lot of toxicity from your body. So sweating in a relaxed state is how we eliminate. The other thing is that what's wonderful about the sauna is that it puts you in a parasympathetic nervous system response, like as if you were meditating. So it's almost a hack. It's like a trick to get yourself into a meditative, relaxed state, to decompress stress, to reverse the effects of stress, and to get your body eliminating deep, deep toxicity that's stored in your body fat because it can come out in the oils of your skin. So I think, sauna is one of the most crucial detoxification, really health practices that we could take on, especially in this era of heavy toxicity, particularly fat-soluble toxins.
This sauna is really, really great. They offer payment plans because if you buy it through PayPal, it's 100% secure. You don't even need a PayPal account. I think you could do a payment plan through PayPal. It's got low EMF electromagnetic fields coming off of it. It's portable, so that means you don't have to knock down a wall in your house. You can just move it from room to room. It sets up in about 2 to 5 minutes. It's super easy to clean. All you got to do is wipe it down when you're done and wipe the neck down. And it produces energy and heat inside very, very evenly throughout the whole machine. All you have to do is sit in there for about 15 minutes a day. And the great thing I like about it too is it requires zero preheating. So you turn it on and you're starting to get warm and you're starting to detoxify with that far infrared light almost immediately. So it's really great. It comes with a 1-year warranty. It's about $990 plus $25 shipping. And that's really, really a good deal because if you look at most of the regular saunas out there, they are in the $2,000 to $4,000 range. So this is really, really a good deal. So check it out, extremehealthradio.com/sauna.
All free shows, all the time on Extreme Health Radio. Opening minds and transforming lives worldwide. Join our community today. Sign up to our email list and instantly get our free gift to you, along with loads of inspirational content and cutting-edge tips to help change your life at extremehealthradio.com/subscribe.
Well, we just walked Dr. Marita out, and now I'm checking out the old Adrenal Stress Connection book that she has here, second edition.
I'm not kidding. Like, the minute that you hit the off button of this show,
Yeah.
I'm on it.
You're on it? What do you mean?
I'm going to be reading that thing.
Oh, my gosh.
Can't wait to look through it.
Yeah, me too.
Adrenals are everything.
So she says that adrenals is really the root cause above the thyroid.
Can be, usually.
Can be.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool. She's got a lot of good stuff in here. Toxic heavy metals. Here we go. She's got, let's see, the most toxic fruits and vegetables.
Ooh, yeah.
You want the 12 most toxic?
Okay.
You want to hear it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Page 10 of her book. Apples.
Really?
Strawberries. Grapes. Celery. Peaches. Spinach. Sweet bell peppers. Nectarines that are imported. Cucumbers, cherry tomatoes, snap peas that are imported, and potatoes.
No.
So the clean ones are avocados, sweet corn. But I always thought corn, I don't really do well with corn.
Mm-mm.
But I avoid corn because of the GMO issue. But pineapples, cabbage, sweet peas, onion, asparagus, mangoes, papaya, kiwi, eggplant, grapefruit, cantaloupe, cauliflower, sweet potatoes.
Nice. I always love a good sweet potato encouragement.
I know, right?
Interesting.
Yeah, I definitely want to read this book. This is pretty good.
It's so hard. The more I read, though, the more even I get confused.
Do you? Well, the more people we talk to.
The more people we talk to. Because you just read that list, and I'm like, yeah, but on that list, I have, a problem with so many of the other, fruits and vegetables for different reasons.
Uh-huh.
So, I don't know. You know what? You go and I'm sure every person we've agreed with on the show, like 99.9% would agree that when you go in, listen to your body, because everybody's so different.
Yeah, and you know what, too, with your issue, with the methylation issue, it could be just that you, maybe you've healed because you've been doing a very, very restrictive diet for a long time. Maybe you've healed.
Maybe I have. That's my hope.
Is there? I think there's a test you can do for methylation.
There's a methylation, yes.
Test. I know Dr. Bob Marshall does a lot of work with that.
Does he?
The methylation. Yeah, we had him on our show. What is his website? Healthline.cc.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, healthline.cc.
How do you remember that? Wow.
Well, I used to listen to him a long time ago.
Okay.
When I was working this other job and I would do deliveries and I listened to him in the car.
That's right. And then we had him on the show. That must have been kind of surreal.
That was
I feel
cool.
that way about a lot of these people, actually.
We should get him back on. He's great. You weren't there for that one, were you? So check this out. Adrenal stress indicator. This is the questionnaire to see if you have it. blurred vision, hormonal imbalances, asthma, bronchitis, prolonged exposure to stress, headaches, food allergies, poor concentration, low energy, easily overwhelmed, dizziness upon standing, inflammatory conditions. I mean, cold hands or feet, your low back pain, knee problems, sore muscles. I mean, it's going to be everybody.
I know.
Interesting.
I wonder what the percentage of people who don't have an adrenal stress are, like 2% of the entire world.
Yeah.
And they're probably people that are hanging out in a
Hawaii
monastery or Hawaii.
Surfing
the
all
guys
day
that are
long?
surfing every day, I was going to say.
I know, right?
Wonder how your adrenals are.
I know. I was going to ask her. I think there's a bunch of tests you can do for your adrenals, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
For adrenal health?
Yeah, my doctor, Dr. Kim Kelly, my naturopath, has a great one.
For adrenal health? What did yours? What
Mine's
was
a saliva, like a 24-hour saliva test where you chew on. Remember when I had to do that a while ago?
That's right.
Chew these little white tabs and soak them with your saliva, put them in these little vials, send them off to a lab, and then it basically checks your cortisol and your adrenals throughout the entire 24-hour period, so we know what they look like, so you know where to go from there.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. It's cool.
Yeah, I'm going to read her book. I like what she had to say.
I do too.
Yeah, I just love it because I think that, I mean, man, this stuff affects everybody.
Oh, doesn't it? I know.
You know, sleep issues and energy issues, lack of sex drive, lack of desire to sort of accomplish your goals. I mean, this is a lot of stuff here.
It is.
Hair loss, all kinds of stuff, weight gain.
Oh, yeah. I think when people think adrenals and thyroid, immediately they think weight.
Mm-hmm.
No one thinks of the low energy, the lethargy, the getting up and feeling dizzy when you stand. I mean, these are all things that we've all pretty much had throughout our lives that we just think are normal part of being a human being.
Yeah.
Isn't it sad that we write it off as, well, that's just being a human?
Yeah, that's just me.
My whole life, I mean, for the probably past 20 years, whenever I'll stand up and I'm like, woo, almost on the ground, you know?
Not now.
Not now, but in the past. I mean, I just thought that was a normal part of when you stand up too fast. You know, like,
Yeah.
I remember being a kid sometimes or a teenager and I'd be like, oh, whoa. And you kind of stabilize and my mom and dad would say like, oh, you stood up too fast. Well, that's stupid when you think about it.
Yeah, that's not
Again,
what should happen.
No, I've been writing these blogs every night for the last, it's been about 75 days already.
Yeah, 75 days.
And it's going to go for a year, and I'm, not going to miss a beat with these. But I've been talking a lot about the lies we tell ourselves and the things that we believe just because either someone else has told them to us and they become our own, or we tell them to ourselves. And it's funny that they're so low and so subconscious that you're not even aware that they're going on like that. I would have never put that together right now unless I would have been speaking on this. You stand up, and my whole life people just said, "Oh, you stood up too fast," or.
And that was just sort of the excuse, and that was normal.
Yeah, or your stomach hurts. Oh, you overate. Well, half the time I wasn't overeating. It was that I was eating, what I was eating was gluten and GMOs. And, it's like these subtle lies that you really buy into. You don't know any different. You think, oh, yeah, that's the issue. I ate too much or I stood up too fast. I mean,
well, remember when we were dating? You said something about you're kind of making...
I don't remember dating you. I dated you.
You?
Just kidding.
Who are you? God? No, remember when we were dating and you said something like, I think you were joking, but you're like, hey, let's go over to Baskin Robbins and get some ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
like, gosh.
Oh, do you really? And I was like, do you know how much damage that food does to you? You're like, no, it has calcium in it. It's good.
It's good for you.
We talk about lies. Right? I think you were just joking, but that was what your mom used to tell you.
Yeah. With the ice cream issue, like my dad or mom would say, oh, it'll heal you. It'll make a man out of you. It's good for you.
Or eat before bed because it's, you don't want to go to bed on an empty stomach,
right?
Which is the best way to go.
You don't want to
bed.
go to bed hungry. I know.
Yeah, go to bed
or
hungry.
Eat everything on your plate. Don't get up from the table till you finish your plate.
Yeah.
I never really grew up with that, but I know a lot of people who have.
Yeah.
Gosh, I tell you, there's just so much that goes into it, and you wonder why our adrenals are stressed out.
I thought that was interesting what you said about how you perceive stress.
I did too.
That's pretty wild. But it makes so much sense with all the people we talk to.
Well, I was going to say all the work of Dr. Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza, those guys alone. I mean, I think the mind-body connection, I mean, we're not even a fraction of being able to actually figure out what's really going on.
Yeah, it makes so much sense that how you perceive stress. So you can, a tip I've been doing lately is just tell myself, like if we're going through something that's seemingly very stressful and I have the awareness to do it, I'll say something, in my own head, I'll say, how am I going to think about this day 30 years from now? And it's like you won't even remember.
You won't remember it.
If you're not going to remember it, then what the heck point is it to even have all this hormones flowing through your veins of all this stress? It just doesn't make any sense.
No, and I love the book by Dr. Alyssa Rankin, Mind Over Medicine. She's so great, but she kind of marries together what Dr. Marita was just talking about, along with the work of a Bruce Lipton or a Joe Dispenza. She marries it all together, the power of the brain and the scientific research to prove it all. But I mean, I keep going back to, the minute that you're diagnosed with something and they tell you have X amount of time to live, usually that's very true. I mean, it's like 99.9% of the time within that, sometimes to the day or the week, that person, that fails miserably in their health or they pass away, or, and it goes the opposite, with the placebo effect, like Joe Dispenza. I just think that there's, what's the point of having all these hormones or health or not health or any of this if you're not putting it to its proper good use to make the world a better place and to serve in the way that only you have a gifting for. I mean, that's the whole point of all this.
That's the whole point. Yeah. It's good stuff. Dr. Marita.
Good stuff. I loved her.
How cool was it that she grew up with like a mom, half Chinese, so they did a lot of herbs and stuff like that, and none of the processed foods growing up? She's really blessed to have had that.
Yeah. I was thinking, who has that? Who has that?
Yeah.
I probably know about 3 people, thinking of everyone in my life that grew up that kind of a way. Did you know anybody?
They grow up sort of granola, like we joke about.
But
did I know of anybody? No, everyone I knew was just eating regular food, and just food wasn't even a part of their life. They're just sort of, it was just, it wasn't a big deal. People just ate whatever, and I think most people are like that.
I guess we're so unconscious. It's the consciousness shift. We just throw food down our mouth and throw medicine in our body and throw bad things at us and expect us to have no effect, no cause and effect. It's very an unconscious way of living, isn't it? Yeah, living without intention. And eventually it comes back to bite you. And then when it does, you have that decision or that choice point to make where, okay, am I going to go down the naturopathic sort of route, or am I going to do conventional treatments? In any event, you have to pick a way. Yeah, you do have to pick a way. And that way is going to affect you for the rest of your life. So. Like you said, as a choice point, though. I mean, I remember when I finally got so sick of the medical industry, the typical Western, that I said, I'm going to find a naturopath and I'm going to pay the money it takes. It's not cheap, and it's not a shortcut. It's actually the very long road home. It is. But at least you're going home. It's a lifelong journey of going home, right? At least you're going home. Yeah. You're not faking your life and, like she said, slapping Band-Aids on things and just not getting to the root. Getting to the root takes a lot of deep digging and hard work and a lot of money, unfortunately. But, that's why we're here, to try to give people options to, read a book. I can't wait to read Dr. Marita's book. If you don't have the money and energy and time and resources to go to get some tests run and have an appointment with her, I mean, gosh, I find so much as free information, whether it's online or in books, that we can do, about environmental toxins and just take one load off of, the overload that's placed on our bodies. And you're in better shape than you were that morning when you woke up. So. I know, it's all, I mean, there's so much information out there. What people need to do and what we need to do is just get people to understand that you can't have a quick fix. I mean, these things are systemic, chronic, degenerative diseases that have been happening for 10, 20 years of your life. Right. And I think we need to get out of that whole model of like Band-Aid type of situation where if you have a condition, you just take this pill. I mean, people need to get out of that and say, like, this is a lifelong journey that I'm going to be on to try to get better and to improve my diet and to all these different things so that I don't have to be beholden to these pharmaceutical drugs and surgery and all this crap that we're being told that we need, and somehow we're less than if we don't have it. Like, we just have to say, okay, in order to get rid of this problem that I have, it might take me 10 years, but I'm okay with that. Because every day I'm going to chip away at it. But then you can take some drug and be better in a week, but at what expense, what cost? I was listening to Elliot Hulse. I love him. He has where did he come from anyway? Was he a fighter? Florida. No, he's from Florida. He's from Florida. He's great. Yeah, he's former. I think he
did some NFL stuff?
Oh, because he seems like, I mean, that guy, when I listen to him, I feel like I've said this before, I feel like I'm just in this like Southern Baptist kind of church, you know, minus the expletives and all that.
Yeah, and God.
And
religion.
Pretty much anything. But you know, like the passion he has, he's just like on fire and you feel like he's just preaching it to you.
Yeah, he's great.
And I was listening to him driving around this morning when I went to run errands, and you know, you've heard this, I know you've heard this motivational one where someone online had spliced together a bunch of his different motivational talks and put it toward music. And he's talking about how one day is going to be your day. And it's never going to be your day if you give up. You're never going to have that one day. But one day is going to be your day. And to keep saying that to yourself, like one day is going to be my day. Whether it's with success, whether it's reaching that point of health. I mean, one day, you're right. If it takes 10 years and it took 30 years to get you where you're at, you're never going to reach that day if you give up.
Right.
So it's just the journey. I mean, I listen to that guy and I'm like, you're right. You know, I feel just this super sense of empowerment whenever I listen to him. But I thought, yeah, it's never going to be my day. If I give up, I give in and I don't dig deep and find the roots and want to put in the work it takes to get back home.
You're like Vince Vaughn in The Internship, singing to Alanis Morissette on the side
your pump up song. I know. What was he listening to? Isn't it ironic or
isn't
one
it
of those?
ironic after they got fired?
Or it's like, yeah, it was.
No,
man,
it is true that one day is going to be your day if you keep at it.
If you keep at it,
yeah.
And it isn't easy and it isn't quick. Sometimes, some people it is, and sometimes it's easier for some people. It's easier for than others, and sometimes it's quicker for you than others or not. But yeah, it's never going to be your day if you give up.
If you give up, yeah. I love it. drmarita.com. So check her out if you're interested in her work. And I think that's about a wrap, right?
That's a wrap.
Is that good?
That's what we say in the business.
That's what we say in the business. So this is episode 356. And if you want to check it out, you can go to extremehealthradio.com/356. And if you want to support our show, you can go to our store or send us a donation. We'd greatly appreciate that. Or you can share our show on Facebook. That's a great way to share our show too. So we appreciate any or all of that. We need all the help we can get. So if you can do that, that would be awesome. We greatly appreciate it. And I think that's about it, right?
I think so. It's a lot of fun, guys. Thanks.
Okay, bye.
Hey, everybody. This is Josie, Justin's mum. Don't tell him, but I know he would absolutely be really happy if you would sign up to his free weekly newsletter. And don't forget to share this with all your friends. This is the buzzing bumblebee signing off.
That was so good.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you for listening to this episode.
It's time to go for now, but our mission does not end with this show.
Justin and Kate will be back with another interview packed full of ideas, discoveries, and unique ways to regain your health.
Head on over to extremehealthradio.com/subscribe and instantly download our free gift too that contains cutting-edge strategies to start making healthy lifestyle changes today.
No material on this blog is intended to suggest that you should not seek professional medical care. Always work with qualified medical professionals, even if you educate yourself in the field of live food, nutrition, and alternative medicine. I'm not a doctor, nor am I offering readers medical advice of any kind. None of the information offered here should be interpreted as a diagnosis of any disease, nor an attempt to treat or prevent any disease or condition. While information in this blog is discussed in the context of numerous conditions,